Park Central Mall, after hours, on Saturday night, was the place to talk cars. We showed off to anyone with a lesser vehicle and drooled over those which were faster, better, newer, or had more chrome under the hood. We bragged, we lied, and we believed everyone's hype, even our own. 150 or more cars and pickups with drivers and passengers of mostly the 16 to 25-year-old crowd made for a glorious 2 to 3 hours of bragging, lying, drooling, and believing. With girlfriend in tow, we cruised into Park Central about a quarter before 10. After the obligatory drooling, bragging, lying, and believing, I spotted my friend and hero, John Waverly, not his real name. John was 21, married, and drove a very fast new Plymouth. All good reasons to look up to him and believe every word he uttered. "Hey Dale, you won't believe what I got." He looked around to see if anyone was watching before opening his trunk. My adrenaline spiked. "Wow, how come you have that?" "I have a friend," says John. "He disposes of stuff like this. I told him I wanted some, so he gave it to me. Is that cool or what?" "What you gonna do with it?" I asked. "I don't know. I'll bet you could think of something." Within a few seconds, I pictured desert explosions from an old Western movie. Oh yeah, craters in the desert, and no harm done. "I can get more, so you can have it if you want of it." "All of it?" I asked, as a warm, fuzzy feeling crept over me. "Sure," he says, "but call me before you do it. I might want to watch." All my oversight circuit breakers tripped instantly. My hero wanted to watch. Quick as a wink, he helped me transfer the subject material to my car trunk. "Oh yeah," he says, "you gotta have the caps." "How many you got?" I asked. "A box full, but I want the box, so you find something to put them in." Being the first-rate mechanic I thought myself to be, my trunk held the mother load of grease rags. I spotted the perfect container, a long, heavy wool boot sock, whose mate had gotten the first hole. "Dump 'em in here," I said. Then I tied a knot in the top and threw 'em in the glove box. This was going to be the most fun anybody ever had. As cars left and returned to Park Central, I got the itch to cruise the 25 or so miles of the 6-lane playpen that was Central Avenue. It was Saturday night, and there was nothing that would awaken the senses like the smell of burning rubber. Speaking of senses, mine began to return over the next hour. Oh crap! I was running around with a case of dynamite in my car and no place to put it. What was I thinking? Back to Park Central to find John, return the dynamite, and give up the dream of every red-blooded 17-year-old American boy. I raced back to Park Central. "Is Waverly still here?" I asked another friend. "Nah, he left right after you did. Said they were going to Prescott for a cup of coffee." Prescott was close to 100 miles north of Phoenix. In that second, I realized everyone could read my guilty mind. And the cop in every squad car had x-ray vision to see what I had in the back of my car, causing me to age and die in a cell. My best defense would be to occupy my thoughts with Warner Brothers cartoons and wrap my car in lead foil. I woke my friend with the phone early the next morning, thinking I had an advantage. They couldn't have made it home before 4 a.m., most likely later. "Hey John, I need to give you that stuff back. I'll be there in about 15 minutes. His groggy voice came back. "What are you saying?" "Just unlatch your trunk and I'll put your stuff in and latch it. That way you can go back to sleep. See, pard? Easy to do." He sounded like somebody just woke him up with a stock prod. "Oh, no you don't," he says. "It's all yours. I had that damn stuff in my car for a week before I found you last night, and possession is 9/10. Now, you find somebody as dumb as we were." My hero died on the vine at that moment. I then approached my father with a teensy-weensy problem. I was 17 and forgot that I already had all the answers to everything. Out of the hearing range of my mother, I told Dad I have a little disposal problem living in my trunk and glove box. I had no doubt he was going to say things I didn't want to hear. But I lifted the trunk lid. What the? Where'd you get this? Then he was speechless for about 30 seconds. The case of dynamite looked bigger than the '49 Chevy trunk that held it. The large coil of fuse completed the picture. Oh yeah, Dad, I got a glove box full of blasting caps. Figured I'd get it all out there at once. No need to have two situations when it could be condensed into one. This was absolutely the low point of my day. A grown man of 17 asking his dad for help in such trivial matters. Footnote: my dad matured rather slowly. When I was 15, he wasn't overly smart. By the time I was 24 or 25, he'd become pretty wise and knowledgeable while I digressed. As soon as Dad could breathe again, we made a plan. Son, he says, blasting caps are dangerous. Have you forgotten your cousin Max blew his thumb off playing with one of those? I remember, but you know I'm too smart to do anything that dumb. He didn't reply, but then he didn't have to. The look took me from 5'8" to an even 3 foot tall, and Dad was much taller than he'd been the day before. We lived outside the city limits, and when my baby sister Linda was born, she seemed to be intolerant to milk, formulas, pretty much everything. Dad bought some goat's milk. The baby did great. Long story short, Dad got a couple milk goats and built facilities for them in the backyard. After the goats were gone, the backyard was devoid of all plant life. Come on, son. We're going to destroy those caps. A 4-foot deep hole with shovel and post hole digger was first. One blasting cap was crimped to the end of about 40 feet of fuse. We then taped succeeding rings of caps around the center one. It looked rather like a flower blossom on a stem, but way too heavy to stand up. We lowered the thick disc down the hole by the fuse. Then we filled and tamped it down, slipped around the corner of the house, and lit the fuse. Oops, I forgot why I brought up the goats. Their watering trough was a very heavy cast iron bathtub. I bet you know where this is going. The bathtub was a combination scatter shield and muffler. We reasoned that it would also contain the dust and the airborne debris so the neighbors wouldn't notice. With a 300-pound iron safety cap, what could possibly go wrong? We waited for the thump. And then we waited another minute. No thump. Dad says, maybe we better give it one more before we stick our heads out from behind the house. So we waited one more. It wasn't going to go off, so we headed for the upside-down bathtub. Having exercised all safety protocol, we started around the corner of the house. I don't know, Dad. I guess the fuse is just back kerwhump. The bathtub had become a low-flying UFO. Thankfully, it landed quickly in almost the same spot from which it launched. We saw it laying right there. Well, we saw it as soon as the cloud of backyard South Phoenix dirt and debris dissipated. We sure were glad we didn't have anything stronger than the caps. Again, I did the replay of the old Western movie and concluded the bad guy didn't need dynamite to blow the mine shaft, just a handful of blasting caps. I could see my father age by the minute. Cross my heart. Hey, Dad, got any ideas on how we're going to get rid of the dynamite? We need to study a stick of that stuff, son. Maybe we'll think of something. I got it, son. I think we can destroy this stuff and then nobody can get hurt with it. Dad, wait a minute. That's the kind of thinking that got me in this mess. I don't mean by using it, son. As per Pop's directions, we brewed coffee, put it in a thermos, and got in the car. Of course, first, we came up with a lame excuse for why we were going to be gone for such a long while for my mother. Dad directed, and I drove south and west, around the White Tank Mountains and onto this huge area of narrow gravel roads that meandered forever. It was the Salt River Apache Indian Reservation. Okay, son, we're going to drive at 10 miles per hour, break this stuff up into granules, while we slowly sprinkle it along the edge of the road. If it takes 25 miles to salt it out, so be it. If it takes 50 miles, so be it. We have enough gas and coffee, and emergency pit stops can be anywhere. All the books written about explosives contained all the things of which we knew absolutely nothing. Had we known anything, we would have never done what we did. You drive, Dad. I should be the one to get dirty hands. I caused this. I'm really sorry. Dad drove, and I reached into the crate in the back seat and pulled out one stick at a time. This case of dynamite was very old and had most likely been in a hot tin building. Each stick stuck. I mean really stuck to everything it touched. The box, each other, my hands, my fingers. Looking back, it may have been sweating, glycerin for the last 20 years. Who could know how unstable this stuff was? For the next 3½ hours, I broke sticks, crunched, rolled, and sprinkled something which could have detonated with only a bump. Of course, we did stop periodically to wipe my hands and sip a little coffee. When I was in my mid-50s and visiting my parents along with my oldest daughter, son-in-law, and granddaughter, I had for some reason told the kids of my misadventure, and my daughter brought it up at the grandparents' house. This was the first time my father and I had ever spoken about it since the day it happened many years before. As we reminisced over that day long ago, my mother was very quiet. As our laughter died down, Mom went ballistic. Mom was legally blind, but she put her hand on his wrist, stretched to her maximum height of 4 foot 11 inches, and demanded with a hiss I never heard before, "Lynn, why have I never heard about this before?" This time, Dad and I both shrank. I felt terrible as Dad looked at her and said, "Honey, we didn't want to worry you." The hiss went away, but she sounded pretty serious when she asked if there was any other episodes that she should know about. Dad looked a little shaky as he said, "I can't think of anything." I hurriedly said, "Me neither." I'm sure we both spoke the truth at that moment, though I knew that if we thought back, we surely could have. I find this story to have 2 morals. You don't want your mama mad at you even in her mid-70s. And the second moral is never, ever let anyone give you sticky dynamite.